Clever Adventures podcast in joint forces with World Mobility Podcast Network, opening you up to the world of travel. Hi, I'm Lori, your host of Clever Adventures podcast. Hello. So good to see you. Today we have Heather, and she is someone that is an author, and she helps you, and she's a self-publisher, and I am really excited to hear more about her and share with you all. And so we have Heather Felty here today. So welcome, Heather.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
I'll just clarify a couple of things. So I am a publisher. I own Innerpace Press, a publishing company. And so I am an author. However, what I do with my business is help other people become authors, become published authors. So under Innerpace Press, when Innerpace Press puts an imprint and publishes a book, then we're in charge of the distribution for the book. And so I fulfill the sales and then pay out royalties to the authors every month. I've also helped people self-publish books along the way as well. So I have many services that I can provide to people, from writing coaching to editing to design to social media, a whole bunch of things related to publishing. But anyway, so sometimes it just didn't make sense for books. The people came to me who wanted a book, but didn't make sense under my publishing company, Innerpace Press. And I can talk about that in a little bit. So that's what it's all about up here in Wisconsin. So I heard we're supposed to be saying that word. So
here's a little backstory. So we have two people that are kind of in the background right now. My podcast assistant, Emily, and the genius behind us starting this podcast, Kurt. They were both up in Wisconsin, and Heather is also in Wisconsin. I am in Arizona, and so Kurt decided he was going to play a game of how many times do we get to say Wisconsin in this episode. So I'm just excited for this. So how did you start?
Yeah, it was a long road. I didn't mention, so I started Innerpace Press about 5 years ago, a little bit more than 5 years ago, and I have published under Innerpace Press 55 plus titles. I don't know, because I just published 2 this week, so it's been a long week, but a great week, because it's fun to bring it to life, a book to life, after working on it for months. Sorry, I got distracted there for a second. So you asked how I got started. So let me just start from the beginning. So yes, I was going to say that I helped about 24 people get self-published as well along the way in that amount of time. So I've been very busy working on a lot of books, not all adult books, some children's books, which are shorter. So it takes a little bit less time, but they still take a lot of time. Okay, so now I'm going to take a breath and take you back in time a little bit. So I started my career in the arts. My undergraduate degree was in art. My emphasis was photography. And then I went on, I worked in some photography places, and then I was interested in kind of getting more education to get deeper into the arts. And so I went to get my master's in art history, theory, and criticism in Chicago. And then I ended up in New York working for a very small museum. Basically, it looked like a gallery, but every month there was a different exhibition, and I was doing everything to start. I was the only employee when I started. And then by the time I left, there were more people so there were different tasks. And so I was able to wear a lot of different hats. And one of the things that I did was I helped publish books for this organization. And we did, I believe it was 5 titles that we did. And for that, we came up with the topic. We found people in the arts who would be well suited for those topics. And we would have about 10 to 12 people writing an essay. And so I edited it, and then I designed the book, and then I was in charge of distribution. It all just kind of happenstance, sort of. The way that it just kind of happened, like a lot of the things that I did in that job. And I was there for 18 years. And then one day I suddenly wasn't there. And so I pivoted, and I had to figure out what I wanted to do, because I decided with not having that job, I didn't want to do the arts. So let's see what's going to happen. And my real deep passion is in yoga, philosophy. So I stepped into that. I entered a year of yes, and I ended up doing yoga teacher training, even though I'd already been doing yoga for 20 years. I didn't do it to teach. I did it just to explore and have this year of figuring out what I was going to do. And then I ended up opening a space, and a physical space, and was teaching physical yoga, but also classes, individualized classes that were all in the lens of yoga philosophy. It was called Innerpace Connection. And I opened the space, and like 2 months later, COVID came. So I had to basically close down the space. So I had been working virtual for a bunch of years. And then I guess the universe wanted me to go back to my home office. So here I am. And then in that transition and pivoting and figuring it out. So one of the classes that I was teaching in that Innerpace Connection was Rewrite Your Life Story. And that long story short is that it led to Innerpace Press opening up. And then one day, a particular manuscript came across my desk, and it was a memoir that was, it just fit. It was just all the pieces were aligned. And so I started Innerpace Press as it is, to share memoir stories, so we could see that we're more connected to each other than we might think otherwise. And then books just started to come. And so it was mostly this memoir thing. And then I did some grief and traumatic brain injury type books. And then when I was doing the healthy grief, I don't know if in the video you can see the books behind me. Yeah. But I was doing healthy grief. And then at the same time, 2 different women came to me and wanted to do children's books on grief. And again, I figured that's a sign from the universe, so let me take it. And so that opened up to do children's books. And I had already started Harmony Meets the World. So I'm pointing because I don't know if you're going to see the video, but Harmony Meets the World is a chapter book series. I know I'm getting off track here, but I'll come back to it. Chapter book series. For kids age 7 to 10, it follows Harmony. She travels in each book to a different country where she meets a kid she travels with her magic binoculars. It's a bit like a Magic Treehouse, but it's different. Anyway, so she travels to another country. She meets a kid or 2 on the ground who teach her about the language, the culture, a cultural festival. So it's covered family traditions. And then there's location, geography. We have maps. It's 2 twins who write it, adult women who write the books, and their mother is doing the illustration. So it's pretty cool. But anyway, so things kind of expanded here and here, so that like the harmony is something that I was curious about. And so I was able to do it as Innerpace Press. And so I've been, as I said before, sometimes the books don't match what the vibe of Innerpace Press is. So the mission would be a better way to say it probably, but it's, so as I said before, it's really about us. I said earlier that yoga philosophy is what drives everything for me. And so the core of that is knowing oneself and understanding who we are and what we're here for. I mean, we don't really know what we're here for, but to ponder on that and to think it through. And I think that then when you're really curious about that and understanding, your self-realization, then you act in you act in a different way in this world. You're more cognizant of your actions and how you are with other people. And so your relationships get better, you're better on yourself and all the things. So if that's really that's the measure for the books that I'm publishing under Innerpace Press, is that how can the reader know themselves better at the end? So that whole philosophy goes through into the Innerpace Press. And yeah. So did that answer it?
Well, yeah, that's very, very in depth.
It's just that everything naturally happened. And so it just wasn't like, oh, here's a big shift, I'm going to do this thing. It was just let them shift. And I just made another shift because last month I started another publishing company so that I could support more people, because I've been having to say no to authors who are coming to me because it's just not, and I keep stretching what Innerpace Press is. So why not just start with something that is everything and
Yeah.
where everybody can be? And so, and then I already now know what I'm doing. And so I can delineate my services and say, okay, well, do you need this or do you need this? And because some people come to me and they want just distribution,
Mm-hmm.
which means I haven't helped them publish their book, or I haven't helped them and I haven't published their book. So that, yeah. So now I'll be able to do that with this new company. So.
Well, that's awesome. So with like, so how many books have you actually, how many books has Innerpace Press actually published?
It's the last count was 55. So yeah, I think
So how
it's
many
just because I
authors?
just published 2. I don't remember exactly, but it's right around there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
how many authors is that then?
It's about 35. So I
Okay.
did nod to the books that I first ever started making. It was always an anthology. So it was always 10 to 12 people. And I love that model because you have all these voices coming together on one topic.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did the book, I don't know if you can see it up there, My Last Hangover. And
Mm-hmm.
that I invited 10 people, 11 people to write about how they got drunk, how they got sober, how they stayed sober. And what we found in all of those stories is that it takes community. And it's not only AA. People have different ways of doing things, but
Mm-hmm.
everybody needs somebody else. So I love that book because that's the message behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't the intention. It was somebody came to me, they said, with this, and I said, yeah, that'd be good. I have in the works a book called Spectrum Relief, and that's still gathering authors. So if anybody hears this and is interested in writing a chapter for Spectrum Relief, please reach out to me, Heather@innerpacepress.com. Be happy to hear from you. But yeah, so I want to get voices of parents and families who are living with children on the spectrum and what's helping their families so that other people can get ideas. So that's like one book. And then I have, anyway, so I like this idea of the anthology. So that's where, do I count those people as the authors? Yes, but they don't come to, I have a monthly author networking meeting. So all the authors come. I have actually 2, one for the adult books and one for the children books. And that was born because, well, it's one of my coworkers is that space in that I worked in New York. She's an author now, and I was talking with her, and she said that she published with a publishing company and that she didn't feel she had good support. And so she went together with, banded together with a few of the other authors, and they started meeting, and then they expanded their network as a result of it. So I thought that's such a great idea. So I started having meetings for the authors, and because of this heartfelt thing that's going on, even though one person's doing traumatic brain injury and the other person's doing, something totally different, they come together, and you never know, because maybe this person needs to find, I don't know if you've ever been, well, like BNI,
Mm-hmm.
networking when we are mandated to make the referrals or whatever. But it's like, you never know what you're going to get when you meet people, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
similar like you and I, you never know. We take the
Yeah.
risk, we go out there, we meet people, you never know what's going to happen from it.
Yeah.
But so that's why I hold that for them so that they have it. And then I've built this whole system for them. They have access to all of the other authors' books in full on a flip zine. So it's one of those like issue magazine, and they have also their contact information so they can get together. There's a handbook that I have for the authors so that they know how the whole system works. So people who aren't normal, so almost everybody I'm working with is a first-time author. So I'm educating them on how the system works, and yeah.
Well, and that's so helpful because I would not know anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I have multiple people that have been like, well, you should publish a book. And I'm like, I know nothing about a book.
Yeah.
And if I can't talk to text, it's not going to happen.
There you go. There you go.
Like I need a ghostwriter to write it.
Yeah.
I would just tell them everything. But yeah, I do remember from our last conversation how I'm like, I would love to like help with that autism, but again, it's I gotta have that ghostwriter because I have a lot of things that we've done with all 3 kids being on the spectrum, because things that I've done for one kid I can't do for another, or it doesn't work for the other.
Yeah, exactly.
So just all 3 kids, like it's really, it's like the kids don't, it's not cookie cutter. So yeah, I love that. I love
Yeah.
how everything kind of comes
Mhm.
together. But
Yeah.
okay, and then so how do you, like, how do you help people, or how do people work with you, or what needs to happen to be able
Mhm.
to connect, like besides connect with you, but
Mhm.
to see
Yeah.
if it's a good fit?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Okay. So there's so many ways I can help people. So it's like, where do I start? I'm like, oh no, just teasing. But so one thing that I find fundamental is if it's possible to do writing coaching with people. So if you're really serious, you really want to write a book, but you're not sure how you're going to do it, or well, how, just all the not sures, I can help with that. So, and I do that mostly through writing coaching. And
Okay.
so the ideal situation is somebody comes and we work together for a couple of, I usually do once a week meetings. Sometimes it's every other week. For some people, it's once a month. It depends, or they're just a one-off to brainstorm. I meet people where they're at. And that's what I wanted to say about the cookie cutter thing, is that none of my authors are cookie cutter. There's not one thing that's, they're all different. Even though 5 brain injury books, they're not the same at all.
Mm-hmm.
But that, so some people, so ideal that we come together and we answer, who's the book for, what do you want to accomplish as an author, and what's the book going to do afterwards, like what's the book going to do. So if you have those pillars settled, essentially you're good to go. So I could tell you that, but you don't know what that means, right? So we have to inquire on that. We have to look at it and see what it's about, see what the mission of that book is. Makes the writing a lot easier because you know what you're doing, and especially if we know who it's for, you already have an avatar. Well, anybody who's been through business training, you need an avatar to know what your messaging is. So when you're speaking to one person, it's easier than speaking to a group, right? So you write your book to that one person, and then, but it can be for all the people. But then it's what the coaching while they're writing helps, is that way I'm looking at what they're writing every week, and then we discuss it. And we discuss, what's missing, what do we need, what are the blocks, what's hard, is this necessary anymore, or do we need to completely restructure it because of whatever. But that very, very rarely happens. That's more an author decides they want to make a pivot and they just do something else. But I mean, personally, I think that the books that I've done writing coaching on here are much stronger books than the other ones, even though the story is great and all that. And I also definitely bring in, for better or worse, but I bring in that artistic aspect. So for me, it's also, I'm thinking about the eyeballs of the reader. So I'm definitely old school. I prefer paper books, but we also do make ebooks and try to make those as nice as possible, but you don't have as much flexibility in helping the reader understand what's priority versus not. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I hate to admit, but I am not much of a reader. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it
Yeah.
took me a while to finally like get into reading.
Yeah.
My husband can definitely read significantly faster. He
Mm-hmm.
can speed read, and I'm like, yeah, that's why you read all the books. But that was just
Yeah.
the thing that he's like, no, his mom always taught him that like no one can take away your brain. Nobody can take away your knowledge. And
Mm-hmm.
so he has this great love of books, and he's constantly reading, and Kindle and
Yeah.
all of those things. So
Yeah.
I love that. And then I love that you also like work with them, and
Mm-hmm.
then you're helping them, and it's not
Yeah.
just like, oh
Yeah.
hey, it's like you hear the stories of people sending their books off to all the
Oh,
different
yeah.
publishers, but
Yeah.
it's like you're taking them through
Yeah. And
every
that's if they do the full like writing coaching, because sometimes people come to me and they have a manuscript and it's good, but it needs help. It needs to be edited. So I look at it, I say it needs edited, and if you edit it, I'll publish it. And then, but I need to charge this amount, not but I charge
yeah.
this amount of money to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's how we work together. It's just that I would prefer to have that manuscript earlier on, or at least have that conversation with them, so we wouldn't have had to do the editing, that deep of editing.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people, like I said before, like some people just come to me and they have their book already, it's ready to roll. And yeah, so those, we wouldn't go through all of that. Like they've already,
Mm-hmm.
hired the cover designer, and already paid somebody to edit the book. So then I just copy edit and design the book. So.
Well, that's.
Oh, but I wanted to say one more thing. Sorry, I know I'm
Yeah,
like,
go for it.
and I did not have too much coffee, I swear. So back to the cookie cutter thing is that, so I wanted to share a story about this man who had been electrocuted and had brain injury as a result of it. And he really wanted to tell his stories. I won't tell too much to identify him or whatever, but he used to be a captain on a boat and he got electrocuted. And so he couldn't do that anymore. So he was struggling with his identity, just like that book, Invisible. I can't point to it now because it's backwards. But Invisible, Amber, she was hit on the head by an umbrella while she was having ice cream with her daughters, and totally unexpected. And now her life has changed. She was no longer able to be a psychiatric nurse. She had to do something totally different. So back to the guy, is that he not only had struggled with his new identity, but he couldn't write.
Yeah.
And so what we devised for him was, he used his phone and he did the transcription, which I'm sure that you know about, and he wrote his book, like he wrote every story like that.
Oh, wow.
And so that, because it took him, it was so hard. It took weeks for us to develop it. But we came up with a program for him. I end up working with a bunch of people with ADHD. And so I found ways because we use Google Docs as a shared doc to be able to have their manuscript. I have ways to use it to our benefit to label things and to identify, so again, yeah, for me, that's part of the beauty of it, is I keep learning, because everybody I work with needs something a little bit different. And so I help them like figure that out along the way.
Oh my gosh. Because you and I might have to work together, because if I can do that is the only way, because my mother and I, when I was in college, we were 2 hours apart. So it's not like we were right next to each other. We would call each other and have discussions and disagreements and all of these things, because I had this junior level writing class and I was like, I need to get a good grade in this, and I'm a horrible writer. My ADD just takes over and I just can't focus, and I go off in 5 different shoots in one paragraph, and maybe it's only 6 sentences, but yeah, unfortunately, the only time that I didn't actually have to have an editor on the first draft was my son's obituary. And that was like, I was like, okay, just go through his life. But everything else, like I get so sidetracked. So, but yeah, I love that. And you've got little tips and tricks for each of your authors. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And then Harmony. So where has Harmony been in her books?
Okay, so she's been to Cusco, Peru, and then then she went to Japan, and then she went to India, and then she went to France, and right now she's in Poland for a festival. So what I mapped it out. This is my passion project also. I just really lucked out and meeting these authors. I thought we were going to be doing a different project, but as they were talking about their specialty, and it just all happened. And so I mapped out 12 books in 12 different countries, 12 different months, and all different cultural festivals that happen in those months. So it's a map of the world. And so the idea was to make a resource for schools, so that the teacher will just pull it out and be like, it's May, let's see where we go this month. And then they have that be the book. So, I mean, that's a really grand vision, and it's been really hard to get there. People who read it love it, but it's like, because I end up being like the author promoting it, even though I'm not the author, just the kind of the arrangement that we have, and they do promote it and all that. But I think because I wanted to do this, so there's a different kind of impetus than the other books potentially. Just realized that, just a little like psychological analysis of myself. But anyway, It's so fun. And oh, I didn't even write in the back of the book. It's full of so it's each chapter is illustrated, has one or two illustrations, and then the back of the book. There's a journal way at the back. Oops, I swear it's here. It's Harmony's journal, and then the kids can write in it. So you write your name up here, and then it's more like there. She had to learn the spoiler alert. She had to learn a dance, and if she didn't learn the dance, it'd be a problem. So she learned the dance, and so you get to have how you do the dance. So it's like the steps of the dance, and then it's fun facts, and it's festival facts, and it's maps, and all the extra things. And then, and there's I love this. It's a mini learn the language book. So you cut it out and you fold it up, and it's a little tiny book. And so each one has the other thing. And then there's a glossary, and then your own glossary if you have more words. Always a recipe and a way to change it, and then post it to social medias if they would. And then, that's just recipe notes. That's about it. And then more is that on harmonymeetstheworld.com, we have a bunch of free downloadables, discussion questions, lesson plan, craft activity, crossword puzzle, math problems, all related to like when he goes to Cusco, and there's the market, and they get something there, and it says how many whatever drinks can he get with $2, and it's all related to the characters and the story. And then we made the activity book, and in that one, which I should have here too, this one has it's all about education. So here's it is, and it says soon the s'mores were ready, book 3, page 155. So it's all related, and not everything is from the book. We did a couple of new pictures in there, but it's for the first 3 books. So again, you're getting and practice kanji, so it's activities as well. It's not just coloring, but again, it's extending the activities. And so this is great also when you have younger kids around, when to relate it. And and it's not religious. We do learn a little bit about Buddhism and a little bit about this, that it exists. That's not the driving factor at all. So I was hoping to get into some homeschooling programs. And it happened to be that the people who I was connecting with around here, for whatever reason, most of them were not interested because, it was going to Peru that first time, and it was not worshiping, but it was looking at the sun god. And so I think that there was a conflict there, like as if we were pushing something that's not their God. Mm-hmm. So anyway, there's still hope. But we're working on them. Yeah, working on book 5 right now out of 12.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I love that. And then with me and travel, like going to all different places, that gets me really excited. I cannot homeschool my kids. Yeah. So that would not be good. But I do know a lot of teachers. Unfortunately, a lot of my teachers that I knew, because I taught high school, I do know quite a few schools, and it would be interesting. Go for it.
Find the right connection at the schools also, I have found. And this is personal opinion, but I feel that teachers have to do all these tasks now, and they don't have as much flexibility to just say, oh yeah, today we're going to, or this week we're going to, or that, because you have to be on par with all the other ones, and everybody's got to agree to it. And so there's a big committee meetings. You can't just read a book. I mean, to some degree, but you can't make it part of the lesson, is what I'm saying, unless there's more. So even when I've been approaching schools, even my kids' school, it's like there's only so much they can do. Mm-hmm. So yeah,
that just makes me wonder if like the smaller schools, I know like where one kid goes, probably like that would be an uphill battle, but I'm just my oldest and youngest currently go to an autism charter school, and so I don't know if it could be like how it would work, depending on like the reading level and things, but that's like, I guess, an interesting thing of like some of those like smaller private schools or charter schools or things like that. But I know in July they have a homeschooling they have a homeschooling conference here in Arizona. So that might be something to look at. But yeah, absolutely. Like,
actually, yeah, Harmony Authors and Mom, they're from Arizona too, outside of Phoenix.
awesome.
So we should,
I love that.
But if anybody's listening and has a connection to schools that have the ability to bring this on, or you're just a mom, or not just mom, what am I saying, a caregiver of children, and you would like to have them understand more, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess we're getting close on time, but
yes.
My first alarm went off.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions for me?
Well, I'm really curious about how are you? I'm sorry, I just frozen all of my questions here. I'm curious about how you're helping people logistically. So, because I know that you're helping people with disabilities, and so like, and I've already asked you these questions, some of them, but how do you, let's be specific. How do you communicate to, let's say you have a client who has a restriction. How do you bridge that restriction with where they're going? How do you communicate with where they're going to, whether it's a hotel or whatever programs?
Yeah, so like, I'll just use my family as an example. We have food allergies. We have an EpiPen for soy and oats, and soy is in a lot of things. And so, and we have disabilities. And so like if you're flying, airlines now have the ability to say, accommodations, and you can put a physical, a mental, like they have different things that you can select. So that way the airlines are aware.
Like when you're making the reservation, you put it right in there?
Yeah. So if I'm doing flight reservations, it's literally a box that you can check when you're going through like their personal information and all of that stuff. Like it's just a box. You just have to make sure that you select it. Like that's where, like, if people need like wheelchair assistance because they're not going to be able to physically walk, but they can walk well enough on their own, but they're not going to be able to, like, quote unquote, walk through the airport. Or maybe they're going on a cruise and they've already got a scooter reserved for that, but they don't want to travel with it. So you can do a wheelchair request, and that's all in that accommodation. So I can help with that. And then usually I can put some notes in on the reservation, but I also like to, if they're just going to one place and staying, usually the cruise line or the hotel, maybe it's a food allergy concierge, they like to know about those things beforehand. Some of them like to know more, more, like, I think cruise lines like to know a week or two out, maybe, or 30 days out. I'd have to double check that, but they like to know about those allergies, especially for food allergies and things like that. They like to know about that if they've got somebody checking in with autism or those things. So then they understand how to, like, help those individuals or help those families. And so it's essentially me just creating an email, or I can put it in the reservation, or I can put it in an email, or if I need to, I can call the hotel and be like, hey, you've got these clients. These are my clients. They're coming. Here's who they are. And, here's a little backstory. But if it's written, because then they can, like, it's better than, I got a call for this person. I don't remember, like, it gets to be less confusing. Like there's that official documentation. So that is just one of the things. But I can also, like, I also think logically, very, like, strategic and logically. So it's like, if you can get to the airport, okay, great. The airport, they've got you while you're there. You'll get to your new destination. If you need a wheelchair, they've got that. But if you're somebody that, like, okay, well, how are you going to get from the airport to your hotel or airport to the cruise line? Do you have that already arrange? Do we need to arrange that through the cruise line, or do we need to arrange, can that be arranged through the hotel? Do they already have a shuttle? Or you're like, I'll just call an Uber or Lyft. By all means, you're more than welcome to do that. Or do you want a professional waiting there for you, and we can make sure that happens? So it just kind of depends on where you're going. Do you need mobility? Do you need a hotel or a wheelchair accessible transport? That we're probably going to have to go more private. So I think about all the logistics of how are you going to get from point A to point B? How long are you staying at point B? Okay, is everything at that destination, or are you going to have to get to these things? And so I take a very logical approach and figure that out.
So when you're onboarding, it must be one-on-one more than they're filling out a form, I imagine.
Yeah, so usually I need some like basic information. But when we get more into the nitty gritty of what they're wanting to do, if they do have disabilities or food allergies or whatever it is, that's usually probably in like our first conversation. Not that I know all of the details or how to work around that, but it's like, if for autism, there are there's autism double checked, and there's autism travel. And autism double checked has like airlines, airports, hotels, different travel professionals that have gone through training for that. Where autism travel, they've got like museums and hotels and destinations, and they have cities. So like here in Arizona, Mesa was the first certified autism city. And so they have different designations. And so that kind of helps me craft, okay, maybe you want to go to this museum over this one because this one understands how to, is better equipped to know how to handle, that individual. And, or maybe they have the sensory rooms, or they have those extra supports that those individuals need. So I can kind of look at that, and maybe it's just a sensory processing, like they just get overwhelmed with loud things. Okay, I'm not going to put you in the front row of a middle of a rock concert. Like, let's look at, the other options. So I try to take everything from what they are interested in and find things that make, going to the San Diego Zoo, like that would be a bucket list for some people. Okay, let's do that. But other people might be like, well, I don't want to do all that walking or things, but maybe we could do, like they have smaller zoos. So you're not doing a big one.
So you do a full itinerary for people?
If that's what they want. If they're like, hey, I just need a hotel, or I've got a client that's like, hey, I need a flight and a rental car. Okay. Some people, I've done where they're like, hey, I've got these specific destinations and I need to figure out how I'm getting to these destinations. Okay. What do you want to do? What are you doing? And I need these specific activities. But I also can be like, do you need to know activities? Do you need to know, here are some options for activities, or here's where I would recommend. And so, there's a large variety of things. So I can be as hands-on or as hands-off as you want, as people want. So
it sounds like you get to learn a lot too in your job, right?
Well, and that's one thing I love about travel is I never stop learning, and everything is a new, like, it's similar books, like, oh, it's a similar injury, but it's a completely different story, right? So travel, you could have the exact same parameters, but the trip's going to be completely different. And so I just love that. I've got a puzzle that I've got to figure out all the pieces and making it. So I love the strategy and all of that stuff. So, how are you, are you going to one destination and just staying there for the time? Or are you going to 3 or 4? Okay, well, then there's more puzzle pieces. And how are you going to get there? Do you, is it a plane, a train? an auto, a driver. How are you getting there? And so I kind of figure those things out. But yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Nice. And international.
Yeah.
So you just find the concierge at the international hotel and you say, this is what's up.
Yeah. So a lot of hotels have decided that they want to do that. I also work with a lot of my business development managers for people, for my suppliers or the companies, and I'll be like, how do you handle food allergies? Oh, we have a concierge. Okay. So a week before they send them, but then they can sit down and have a meeting with that concierge for the food for, when they get there. They'll have like a time arrangement, things like that. So yeah, it's definitely very, it's wherever they want to go. And I make sure that that trip is going to be as stress free as possible. When you're traveling with somebody with disabilities, you just don't know what the day is going to turn out like, just like with anyone. If you've ever tried to travel with a toddler, good luck.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I just try and make it as smooth and streamlined as possible. Give breaks if needed, hey, we're not going to focus. If you want 5 activities a day, by all means, I can do that. But if you're like, hey, we need an activity, let's do something easy in the morning, and then we could do something afternoon, evening. Okay. But make sure that there's downtime. So it just depends on what the person wants or what their family wants. And if they need those downtimes, or, I say a day, if you're traveling, that's a day. I just make it a day. You want to do something in the morning before, that's fine, but you've got to check out of wherever you're at. You got to get to the train station. Like if you're in Europe, you got to get to the train station. How long is that travel going to be? Then you got to get from the train station to the next place. How are you going to get that? And get settled and figure out food. So
another puzzle.
Yeah. So it's just another puzzle. And, I just love it because I never stop learning, and everything's going to be a little different.
Yeah. Nice.
Anything else?
I have another question.
Okay.
If we have time. Okay. Yeah. So this is like just your opinion, obviously, but it seems that air travel's gotten a little bit crazy lately, with especially this year with some of the security stuff. So have you personally, or do reflection? My question is, have you seen a change in what your clients are going, where they're going, how they're going, or do you have some reflection on it for the future of travel?
So I think being aware, so there's 3 things I'm going to say. You got to be aware of what public current events are. Okay. And if it's something that is going to deter you from that destination, like if you're like, I want to go to Egypt, by all means, there are people still going to Egypt. But maybe you need to check the State Department, so state.gov, they have travel advisories for every country, and you can sign up for, they have like if you're going to a specific country, they have you can tell them and sign up for the app, and so that way they can get a hold of you if you're in country, and if there's a situation where they need to get you out. There are some places where they're like, if you go there, we're not helping you. So you kind of have to pay attention to the State Department on where you're going. Like if you've got family there, then that's a little bit different than if you're just going on a vacation. I think the other smart thing is, in certain destinations, even our travel insurance, if you're going to certain destinations, our travel insurance, unless it's like before all of this, so you planned it last year and the trip's coming up before all of this happened, travel insurance would be ideal for most people, just because if something happens before your trip or while you're on your trip, because if you have like insurance in the US, that does not work internationally. Once you leave US, you don't have insurance. So, if you're worried about maybe a medical issue, a terrorist attack, those types of things, depending on what you're like how much you're wanting, you lose your luggage, all of that, that can be covered by travel insurance. And so certain destinations, they are not going to cover because of current events.
Mm-hmm.
And so, maybe you don't go to that destination. Maybe we see what happens with the world if it,
Mm-hmm.
but tourism is still going on for most places in the world, unless it's like, Antarctica's kind of getting to the point where it's starting to get really cold again. So,
even I heard, I mean, I haven't traveled by plane for a while actually. But what I've been hearing, well, maybe I only just saw it on social media. It wasn't real news, as they say, but that there were like the delays with the TSA programs, right? It doesn't, but so have you seen any decline in people using, or is that just, that was a blip and it was a thing and now
I think it might depend because like TSA, last I knew, okay, last I knew, TSA still hasn't been paid. So if they are not getting paid, like, why are they going to work? So then that's why there's been all the strikes and people haven't gone to work because like, well, you're not paying me. And when, from shutdowns and things.
That's still not resolved?
I don't know. I have not paid attention that closely to it.
Okay, so then it's not affecting the travel that you're doing.
It's going to affect the lines. It's just going to affect how long it's going to take.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so there's some different programs and apps that say like, hey, here's how long the lines are and things like that. But if somebody has a disability and they need extra assistance, TSA Cares is a program that will help you, will help escort you through security. So
awesome.
I haven't seen any deterrence for the most part.
I was curious about that.
Yeah, it just kind of depends. Some people are like, I've heard some people, their clients are like, yep, nope, we're still going wherever we plan to go. And other people are like, okay, yeah, we'll cancel.
Yeah.
So it just,
well, like the whole cruise thing and the, outbreaks and people being scared. I'm sure there's a certain percentage that's scared, but for the most people, they're ready to go and explore and do what they want to do.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different things that can be related to that, but it's like, do you want to make sure that you have travel insurance through the cruise line and a separate policy, however you want to do that? And that's just a conversation between me and them. I have different suppliers, and it's literally like, I send you the travel insurance that I usually send out. Like, there's a link. I see nothing other than if you purchased it. Like, I don't know any of the details until I know that you've purchased it. And then I have to go in and dig and go find all of the things. But yeah, so, it's, people are going to travel. It's whether it's what they're comfortable with and what they're willing to do.
Well, it's good they have you so that you can help them navigate those difficult things about traveling.
Absolutely. So, all right. Well, everyone, just so you guys know, we have our next show in 2 weeks, same time. And after the summer, so the second week of August, we are actually going to be going weekly. We have lots of guests that want to come on. Yeah, super exciting. So we're going to start going weekly the second week of August. So I'm excited to see all of our guests and all the people that, all the future guests that want to come on. I've kind of got a wait list. So it's been great to do that. And so it's just been wonderful. So remember, so my website has all of Heather's information. It's lcleveradventures.com, and that has all of her links. It's got her social media, everything. So if you're trying to get a hold of her, you can go to Clever Adventures, and it will click on her little picture, and it will get you to all of her information.
Awesome.
So
thank you for that.
Absolutely. Make it easy. Make it easy for people. So please make sure that you like, share, follow, leave us a comment if you have any questions or want to know anything for future episodes. But thank you so much, Heather, for being here, and we will see you guys next time.
Thank you.